Can you guys hear me okay? Just give me like a thumbs up. Cool. Oh wow, that's a lot of thumbs up. All right. I'm Sarah, I'm an alcoholic. Bear with me because my allergies have been kicking my butt this week. So I keep getting like a tickle in my throat. So if I stop to drink tea, that is why. Um, so my sobriety date is March 28th of 2015. So now I have a little over 6.5 years sober. I'm not a first time winner at this by any means. I have been in and out of treatment centers since I was 17, honestly. So I went to my first IOP at 17 because I got really, really, really drunk one night, the night before Thanksgiving. We all know that's a big party night, right? And I got into a fight with my best friend, and we were driving, and I was like, pull over, and I opened the door and I got out of the car while it was still slightly moving, and I started walking, and a cop had pulled her over. And, they announced to the cop that I was drunk. And so needless to say, my parents decided at that point they were going to put me into an intensive outpatient program. And, the funny thing about it is that if I look back on my life, right, October is like a really cool month for me because I've been reflecting a lot this month because my dad is in AA and he typically celebrates in October. So he has been sober for, oh God, like 43 years. And so I have never seen him drink. I grew up in Alcoholics Anonymous, going to his celebrations. And I share this because if you had asked me back then, I would have swore up and down that I never would drink. I swore up and down I would never be like my father. I swore up and down that I was like never going to smoke cigarettes, right? I was going to be the straight edge good girl. And clearly that didn't happen, right? Because like here I am at 9:30 on a Thursday speaking at an AA meeting. And, at 14, when I tried drinking for the first time, I was in my friend's basement and we literally took every bottle of liquor in the bar and poured it into a cup. And I can't tell you what the liquor was, but I can tell you that my night ended with my head in in the toilet and a hangover the next day, and telling myself that, that was fun. When are we going to do it again? Right? Because I was an alcoholic from a young age, right? Like I was the type that was stealing from the stores. I would debate with my mother when I was little, like I would want like 3 cookies. She would tell me I could only have 1 cookie. I wanted 2 cookies. She said, okay, you can still only have 1 cookie, right? Like the whole concept of like one was never enough for me was like there from a very young age. And I ran with it, right? Like I would sit there and I would constantly strive for something outside of me. I would always strive for more. From when I was in middle school, high school, elementary school, even, right? Like I never felt like I belonged. I was constantly putting on a mask to please the people around me because I didn't like who I was as a person. And I tried to fill that void and I tried to become what other people wanted me to be by drinking, right? By drinking, by trying other substances, right? Because my friends told me it was cool or because it looked like they were having fun. And like, don't get me wrong, right? Like substance use was fun in the beginning, right? Like I had fun at parties. I had fun with my friends. And then eventually it was no longer fun to me, right? And like a typical 17-year-old who's in an intensive outpatient program actually learns something from the program, right? Like they might get scared. They might like stop doing stuff for a while. Like, nope, not me, right? Like I still drank the entire time I was in a program. I became friends with a girl and I picked up a cocaine addiction, right? So like 18 years old, now I have a cocaine addiction on top of it. And most people, that doesn't happen to them. The normal that I strive for all of my life, those people don't do that kind of stuff. They learn their lessons, they get the consequences, they stop doing the things that they do. I get consequences and I think, okay, how can I do this better? Right? Like, I just want to do it better. I just want to not get caught, right? I just want to do this on the weekends, right? Like the weekend warriors. I was a weekend warrior for a very long time. And, I came into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous reluctantly, right? Because, like I said, my dad is sober and I had a resentment towards my father. Like, I did not want to come into AA because, in my opinion, AA took my father away from me. AA had my dad abandon me because he would go to meetings, he would have sponsees, he would take commitments, right? And he was doing all the things that AA wanted him to do. And I was resentful towards that. And it took me a really long time, and through working the steps this time around, to allow that resentment to fall away and to be able to forgive him and accept him, because I learned through this program that he was doing everything that he was doing to give me a better life, right? Because until I came into this program, until I worked the steps, until I started taking speaking commitments and doing the service and getting a higher power, my life did not get better. It's funny because I was talking to my best friend earlier and she was like, it seems like whenever we're going through shit in life, we always have speaking commitments. And it's true, because in September, at the end of the month, I was saying to myself how I really needed to get back into my program, right? Because I might have 6.5 years sober, but I'm not exempt from relapse, right? I'm not exempt from having a bad day and picking up a drink. So I have to really stay focused on what I need to do, because the longer I stay sober, the more I get back and the more I'm going to lose. And so it was like the end of September, and Anthony actually started the chain of events, right? So he texts me and asks me if I'd be willing to speak in October. And I said, yeah, sure, no problem. He gives me this date, right? 2 days later, someone else texts me and asks me if I'll speak. And I said, okay, yeah, sure, no problem. I go to a meeting and someone's like, oh, will you come speak in October? So I've now done 4 speaking commitments at this point tonight, right? Because God does for me what I can't do for myself, right? God's like, oh, you want more service? You want to get back into your program? Here you go. Here's a bunch of commitments. And the crazy thing is too, right? So I'm in school. I'm a full-time student and I'm a full-time employee. So I really have to stay on top of my program, because my time is very limited with how much I can actually get out places and go to meetings. And every single commitment that I've taken has fallen on a day where I'm either out of class already or I'm on fall break. It's every single commitment has lined up to make sure that I can be available for it, right? No excuses. No ifs, ands, or buts, because I show up for my program and my commitments the way that I showed up to go get my substances, right? Because when I was actively using substances, I would have driven. I did drive, right? Because obviously other substances are a part of my story, but I remember driving from upstate New York, where my parents live, to New Jersey and back every other day to get what I needed, right? So to say that I can't log on to a Zoom meeting at 9:30 at night from the comfort of my dining room table is a really sad excuse, because I really don't have an excuse at this point. I need to do for myself what this program has consistently shown up and done for me when I use it. And talking about God does for us what we can't do for ourselves, right? So I have all these commitments lined up, and for the last 4 weeks, my mental health rate has been in the toilet. Because I'm going to share honestly about where I'm at, right? Because I like that people can see the vulnerability that I'm willing to show them, because I want people to realize that just because I have 6.5 years does not mean that my life is perfect, right? It does not mean that I don't have life smack me in the face every so often, right? And I work in substance abuse, right? I'm in school for social work, and I've been working in substance abuse for about 5 years now. And I recently had gotten promoted in July to a new position. So I'm an IOP counselor and a case manager at a Mommy and Me halfway house. And Louisa, you're clapping, but you'd be surprised, right? Because being a woman in recovery can benefit me, but it can also make my job that much harder, right? Because AA teaches me one thing, and the School of Social Work at Monmouth University teaches me another, right? So I am constantly at odds with what, my brain is telling me, my natural coping skills, my natural instincts, and what a textbook and a teacher is teaching me, right? And so I've been experiencing a lot of countertransference with my clients because they remind me of me. They remind me of my friends. They remind me of girls I've lived with in a sober house. And it's mentally draining, right? And like, I'm also becoming more self-aware of the things that I need to work on because I'm talking to them about what they need to work on. And I'm like, am I a hypocrite because I'm telling them to do this and then I'm practicing zero self-care at home, right? And so, a few weeks ago, I finally like realized I was super hypersensitive to the things that my clients are going through. I'm hypersensitive to the feedback that my boss gives me. I'm hypersensitive to my friends and what they say to me. I'm hypersensitive to every single thing in my life. And I'm getting short fused, right? Because all my character defects are now coming out, right? And so the good thing is I have a program that teaches me to make amends promptly when I act out of character or I don't act like myself. But how many times am I going to make an amends to someone if I'm not changing the behavior that's associated with the amends, right? So like I am sitting there getting short fused with my clients and then having to apologize afterwards for it. And that right there was like a red flag to me, right? Because AA teaches me to be aware of these things. And I was like, I need to do something about it. So I'm actually moving out of that position soon because my whole thing is I need to do what's best for me because for so long, right? When I'm actively using substances, I don't give a shit about me, right? Like I don't care about my well-being. I don't care about if I've showered in the morning. Like, I don't care about any of that stuff. But today I'm a sober person and I do care about myself. I love myself today, something that I struggled with for a really, really long time. And even in sobriety, I struggled with loving myself. And so, I sit there and I'm like, what do I do? And fortunately, I've built enough resources within my professional community that I'm being moved into a different aspect. But it's hard. They tell us to work these principles in every single aspect of our lives, right? Like I don't work these principles just in AA. I don't work these principles just in occurrences with my family. I have to work it literally in every single aspect. And it's hard sometimes. It's humbling to be a counselor and have to apologize for your behaviors towards your clients. It's a humbling experience to once again have to sit there and say, I need help, right? Because in this moment, I need to reach out like AA teaches me to do and accept the helping hand from anyone in my life who's willing to give it to me. And the awesome and beautiful thing about this is that I'm an open book about my recovery, right? Like my clients might not know it, but my bosses know it, right? Like the people I work with know it. So I have the ability to continue to be honest about where I'm at. And it's crazy too, because like I go to therapy, right? And like I was talking to my therapist the other night and I was sitting there and I was like, I just want to run, right? Like my alcoholic addict brain is like run away from your problems, right? And when I say run, I don't mean like get high or drink or any of those things, but like I want to hide, right? I don't want to face them. But like, what does fear stand for, right? Like face F everything, fuck everything, and run, right? And that right there was my fears full force beaming in my life. And it was a very humbling experience, right? Like this whole past month has just been humbling. And like life hits, right? I found out, like, because I do the right thing now and I plead to cases from like tickets 3 years ago that I got, like now that COVID is kind of loosening and courts are opening and all that fun stuff. And so like a week, 2 weeks ago, I get a letter that my license is going to be suspended for a ticket from 2018. And I'm like, all right, like slight mental breakdown. And then I figure it out. I call and I get stuff situated and I have to take a class now. And I'm like baffled by the fact that it's 2021 and I'm getting a license suspension from 2018. But like, that's what I got to do, right? Like I do what I have to do these days in my life to continue to make it better. Because old Sarah would sit in her crap and feel sorry for herself, right? Like I'm really, really good at feeling sorry for myself and sitting on that pity pot. But like, I didn't just go through 6.5 years of sobriety and fight like hell to continue to do stuff like that, right? Like I sit in my shit for a day, absolutely, right? I called my sponsor on Monday and she was trying to give me solutions. And I literally like was on the phone and I'm like, Tammy, I don't need a solution right now. Like, I just need to cry and vent, right? Because like some days I need that. But then I wake up the next day and I'm fine. Like I'm not happy, but like I figure it out, right? Because AA has really taught me to keep fighting, to keep pushing forward, and to keep having faith, right? Like my God, my higher power, as long as I continue to have faith, never lets me down. I might not like the results that I get, but in the long run, I can look back at them and say, this is what I needed, right? Because if I got everything I wanted, I wouldn't be happy, but I definitely get everything I needed. And I continue to get everything I need every single day, as long as I keep putting in this work. You know, I have sponsees, right? And I continue to take commitment because that is what AA taught me. Because if I didn't go to meetings and if I wasn't in treatment when those commitments came in, like who knows if I would have heard what I needed to hear to continue to on this path. Like this is what I need. You guys are my medicine, right? Like you guys are the ones that sit there and bring me back to down to earth when I'm getting stuck in my own crap, right? Like you guys are the ones that will understand me no matter what. Because as much as people think they can understand us, let's be honest, only another alcoholic understands another alcoholic, understands the pain and the joy and all of the in-between that we have experienced, right? That's why we share our experience, strength, and hope, because you will understand that. You might not understand, we might have different substance use, we might have a different whatever, but like we will always have the same feelings, right? You'll understand my sadness, you'll understand my joy. And I'll always be able to have someone who's willing to sit there in sadness with me and also sit there in my joyous moments, right? Because we do this for each other, not because we want something, but because we just want to help. We just want to show up for people. We just want to be there to continue to give forward, pay it forward, and to keep giving back to what was given to us, right? And like, that's the beautiful thing. That's the thing I'm most grateful for, is that no matter what I have gone through, I know there's always someplace I can go and share and be honest and raw, and no one will judge me. No one's going to sit there and say, yeah, like you're not an alcoholic enough. Sorry. Like they're going to open their arms and they're going to give me a hug and they're going to say, it's going to be okay. And I'll genuinely believe them, because when someone gives you a hug in Alcoholics Anonymous, right, it feels okay. Whether it be your sponsor, your friend, or your newcomer walking into a room and some random person wants to give you a hug. I mean, let's say more prior to COVID, because like it's kind of frowned upon right now, but like it always did. It felt okay. And I'm grateful for that, right? Because like here I am, and I'm older than Anthony makes me out to seem, right? Like I'm actually 31. So like, I'm not old, right? But like, I'm older than I might look. And, you know, it's funny because like my best friend is on here right now, and she just got married in September. And we became best friends when she walked into Alcoholics Anonymous at 17 years old, right? I was 25. Like, she's basically the age I am to my sister, and she's my best friend, right? Because Alcoholics Anonymous does not discriminate, right? And you don't pick your friends like you did in high school based on who plays what sports. If you're a cheerleader, right? Like, you pick your friends because they're also another alcoholic and addict who understands you, right? It doesn't matter age, race, gender, none of it matters. It's because you guys can relate. You guys have a common understanding that no one else does. And that's like what I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for relationships today, right? Like, I have an amazing and beautiful relationship with my family, something I never in a million years thought I would have. But because I work the steps and because I've made a genuine effort to change, the relationships that I have gotten better, right? Like, my dad, I no longer have a resentment towards. I was able to make an amends to him. And in his own weird dad way, he kind of like made an amends back to me, right? Like, that was a beautiful moment. Like, Anthony got to see me celebrate on Zoom because we were still hybrid, and my dad coined me, right? Like, that is the beautiful thing about this program. Like, my dad now coins me for my celebrations, which I'm grateful for. Like, I'm an aunt, right? Like, I have the most amazing niece in the world, but I'm also biased, right? Because we're all biased on our own family and children. And some days I get concerned she might end up being an alcoholic, right? Like, she already knows what wine she likes and she's 9. It's kind of scary. Yeah, but you know what? Like, hey, she turns into an alcoholic, like, here I am, right? Because I'm not going to turn my back on her. I'm going to be there to love her and support her. I hope not, but hey, if it happens, it happens, right? Because I don't regret it. I don't regret being an alcoholic. I don't regret the things that I've been through, right? Because that's what the promises tell me, that I won't regret them. And I don't. They made me the woman that I am today, sitting here on Zoom in front of you. I wouldn't be this woman without those past experiences. So I think I'm at the 20 minutes. So I think that's all I got.